So now let's see more about the metrics which will be involved in the call butterfly strategy. I am taking the same example which I explained in the earlier lecture. Nifty was trading at 15,818 and we are taking the July expiry option, and the premium of these options are as below. 15,700 call option we are buying at 251. Along with that we are buying 16,100 call option at 62. Whereas we are selling two lots of 15,900 at 142. So if you observe here, when you are buying 15,700 and 16,100, you are paying 313 points and that is your debit. Whereas if you are going for two lots of 15,900 sell position, you are getting 284 points, that is your credit. So as you can see clearly, you are starting with a debit. In this scenario, the debit is how much? That is 29 points. So 29 points is the debit with which you are starting this strategy. With that, you can understand what is the risk in this scenario. So the maximum risk in the butterfly strategy, whether it's a call butterfly or put butterfly, that will be equivalent to your debit which you are taking initially. So in this case, if you are going for this strategy, the debit is equivalent to 29 points. So that is the maximum risk you have. The other key point you need to understand is the maximum reward. Once you see the maximum reward, you will understand why people go for butterfly strategy even though the probability of success is little lesser than other strategies. What is the reason for going for this strategy? If you observe this case, what I have written, maximum reward is nothing but width between the strike prices. If you see the width between whether you take 15,700 to 900 or 900 to 16,100, that is same. That is what the butterfly is all about. So that is 200 points is the width between the strike prices. If you subtract the debit of 29 points, your maximum reward is how much? 171 is the maximum reward. So if you see the reward to risk ratio, it's a very favorable reward to risk. 171 to 29. It's like a almost 6:1 kind of reward to risk ratio, which is very good reward to ratio. But the probability of success will be a little bit less. You will understand why the probability of success will be a little bit less once you see the break-even points and where this position will be profitable. If you see the break-even points for butterfly strategy, there will be two break-even points will be there: lower break-even point and higher break-even point. When you see the lower break-even point, how to find out? You need to take the in the money call strike or the buy position which is there in the money in this scenario, that is 15,000 strike. We need to add debit, that is 29 points. That means what? 15,729, somewhere here 15,729. So that is the point, is one of the break-even point. On the other hand, the other break-even point is out of the money call strike position, that is 16,100 minus 29, that is 16,071. So 16,071 and 15,729. So between these 2 points, you are going to have a success in this scenario. But if you see, this is the 15,818 is already the current trading price. That means the Nifty can move only 250 points, so just 1.5% beyond which your position will be in loss making. Similarly, on the downside also, if it goes more than 90 points, your position will be in loss. Let me just quickly show you three scenarios. If it closes at the buy position, that is 15,700, what is going to happen? If it closes at 15,700, all options will be zero. So your risk will be what? 29 points, which is the initial debit. In case if it closes at 15,900, then what is going to happen? If it closes at 15,900, 15,700 call option will be, the value will be equivalent to 200 points. If this is equal to 200 points, 15,900 option is 0 and 16,100 option is also 0. That means what? Your reward in this scenario, your reward will be 200 points minus debit, so that is 171. So the maximum reward in this case we are achieving, and that is 171 points if we close exactly at the selling strike price. The last scenario is in case if it closes at the other buy position, that is out of the money buy position, then what is going to happen? If it closes at 16,100, 15,700 call option value will be 400. 15,900 two call options equivalent to 200, and 16,100 will be anyway 0. That means effectively whatever the value is here is nullified by these two call positions. That means effectively this is 0. But you are starting with a debit of how many points? You are starting with a debit of 29 points. That means your risk is limited to 29 points in case if the closure is 16,100. So these are the some of the points you need to understand where your position will be profitable. So that is in the money call strike or the first buy position which is in the money plus the debit, and the higher break-even point is out of the money call strike price minus the debit which you are having initially. Suppose in case if you want to increase your probability of success, one of the way to do will be if you increase the width between the strike prices. In this case, I took 200 points. If you want, you can go for 300 or 400. What is going to happen as you keep on increase the width between the strike prices? The credit which you are going to receive will be little bit less, and automatically your position will have more debit. So either you have to sacrifice little bit probability of success, or you have to take little bit more risk by paying more debit. So that is one thing you need to see based on your view. You need to do some balancing. Of course there are some of the ways like where using the call butterfly and put butterfly together can increase your probability of success. That we'll discuss in the later lectures once we understand about call butterfly and put butterfly. So that time we'll discuss more about this. So the last point I want to tell is, which I already discussed, is what is the best case scenario for this trade. The best case scenario for this trade is if the expiry closing is at the sell position strike price. That means if it closes at 15,900, like I mentioned, this options and this options entirely become 0, and this entire width will become the value of this option, and you need to just subtract the debit. So in that case you will be reaching this maximum reward scenario, and that is the best case scenario for call butterfly strategy. So these are some of the key points you need to understand. In the next lecture we'll see about the payoff diagram, so visually you can understand exactly how it will work.